Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's May 19th, 2025, and this is the County Employees Retirement System Finance Committee regular meeting called to order. Mr. Bronco, would you do our legal statement for us, please?
Yes, sir. This is a regular meeting of the County Employee Retirement System Board of Trustee Finance Committee. This meeting is being broadcast via video teleconference pursuant to KRS 61826 and may be viewed by the public at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority offices located at 1260 Louisville Road in Frankfort, Kentucky. It is also being broadcast to the public live via Facebook. If you are speaking and are not appearing by video, please identify yourself before talking. If the video or audio broadcast is interrupted, we will attempt to reestablish a connection. If a connection cannot be reestablished within 30 minutes, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled to a later date.
Thank you. Ms. Rankin, could you do the roll call for us, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. O'Meara,
Here.
Mr. Cheatham,
Here.
Mr. Fulkerson, Dr. Carver,
Here.
and Mr. Webb.
Here.
Thank you.
And do we have any public comment for today?
No, sir, no public comment for today.
Okay, I'd like to take a moment to introduce and welcome our new member, Steve Webb. I'm looking forward to his contributions with his financial background, and we welcome you, sir, to our Finance Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Happy to be here.
Next are the approval of the February 17th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion they be approved as presented.
Second.
All right. Any changes, deletions, amendments, any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Those minutes pass. Next will be Mr. Lamb with the quarterly financial reports. Mr. Lamb, please take it away.
Thank you. I have several items on the agenda today, and I apologize. I'm working on one screen, so this may be a little slower than normal, but bear with me and we'll get through it. So, Sherry, near the bottom of page 7, you see that the total fiduciary net position for the CERS system is $19 billion. That's up 4.27% or $780 million this year over the same period last year. The two pension plans, they total 13.6 million. So it's the 13.6 billion. That's the 10 billion plus 3.6 billion. And that's an increase of 5% or 648 million. The two insurance plans total 5.4 billion, 3.6 billion plus 1.8 billion. And that has increased 2.5% or 132 million. In the middle of the page, the net investments at fair value have increased overall by 3.48% or by 615 million. The pension plans are up 4.09% and the insurance plans are up 2.02%. The largest increase in value is with the core fixed income, which is up 44.66% or 733 million across all of the plans, followed by real return at 54% or 373 million and specialty credit at 11.12% or 393 million. Public equities has experienced a decrease of 9.58% when comparing the two periods, or 908 million. The core fixed income is higher due to additional funds being placed in this category through reallocation, and a lot of that did come from the public equity asset class. So that's part of the reason why the public equity has decreased when comparing the two periods. I'd like to go down to near the page 10, and give me just a second here. Yeah, so there's that 2005 net increase or decrease in fiduciary net position. It's 565,178. That represents the change, in this case, an increase from the fiduciary net position through the third quarter. So from July 1 until March 31. And compared to the prior year's same period, that prior year was an increase of 1.5 billion. The two pension plans show a $303 million and $155 million net increase respectively, for a total of $458 million. The $458 million increase is $672 million, or 59% lower than the prior year's amount of $1.1 billion for the pension plans. The two insurance plans show $87 million and $19.6 million respectively, for a total of $107 million. And that's $280 million, or 72% lower than the prior year amount of $387 million. The difference between this year and last year is the net appreciation in the fair market value of investments, which so far this year is $578 million, while the same period during the prior year was $1.4 billion. So still increasing over the first 9 months, but not as high as it increased the first 9 months of last year. We're going to get into some of the reasons why those increases in these values are not as high as the prior years, and we can do that on the contribution report starting on page 11. Okay, perfect. So let me walk through a couple of these numbers here. Through quarter three, the pension plans received $883.4 million in member and employer contributions. So if you add the 120.10 plus 478.10 plus 49 and 227.2 of the two pension plans, and that was compared to $945.6 million in the prior period, or $62.2 million less than what was received through quarter three. Member contributions were up $8.7 million, while employer contributions are down $70.9 million. The total payroll for both the CERS pension plans through March is up $201.5 million, or 7% compared to the prior period last year. And there's over 2,000 more active members at 3/31/25 compared to 3/31/24. However, as you guys know, the employer rates for the C non-hazardous have decreased from 23.34% to 19.71%, and for the hazardous pension plan, they've decreased from 41.11 to 36.49. And that's resulted in the lower employer contributions in comparing period to period. But because of the increased payroll and members, we have higher employee contributions. The net investment income, interest plus dividends, less investment expenses, performance fees, and carried interest for the two pension plans was $229 million. That's the 167.9 plus 61.1, and is $18.6 million, or 8.84% higher than the first 3 quarters of the prior year. Both pension plans paid out $1.053 billion in benefits, refunds, and admin expenses versus $982.9 million. That is $70.5 million more and 7.1% higher. All of that shows that light yellow net contribution line, the CERS non-hazardous pension plan, has a negative contribution of $9.2 million, while the CERS hazardous pension plan has a positive net contribution of $47.1 million. And then if we remove the net investment income of $167.9 and $61.1 million respectively from both of those plans, the C non-hazardous plan has a negative cash flow of $177.1 million, while the C hazardous plan has a negative $14 million cash flow through the first 9 months of this fiscal year. The next contribution report is the insurance ones, and we'll start with the yellow net contribution line. It shows that the C non-hazardous insurance plan has net contribution amount of negative 18.9, and the C hazardous plan has negative 31.9 million. The net contribution amount through if we remove the net investment income of 61.5 million and 28.1 million respectively, the bottom chart or the cash flow shows net contributions at negative 80.4 million and negative 60 million respectively for those two insurance plans. The non-hazardous insurance plan has 1.9 million less in employer contributions through quarter three. The rates are at 0% from the employers, and there was also a Humana Gain share payment last year of 10.4 million, and we haven't received one as of yet this year. The hazardous insurance plan is 2 million less in employer contributions through Q3, and it also had an employee gain share last year at 1.6 million. And the healthcare premium outflows for the non-hazardous plan are up 27.3 million and are up 4.7 million in the hazardous plan when comparing the first 3 quarters. So I'm going to stop there. That's the financial statements and the contribution reports, and see if there's any questions that I may need to field.
Any questions for Mike at this time?
Mike, just a simple question. You may have to go and look, but the employee contribution rate was up 5.71. You have a feel for how much of that is attributable to increased number of beneficiaries, or how much of it is payroll growth?
I do typically try to break that down. I don't know if I have that number in front of me, but I can break down the percentage of that was related to payroll versus headcount, and I can break that out
See if
for
we're
you.
still seeing the same growth in both of those, or whether it's slacking off or changing up some.
Yeah, I'd be happy to break that down and bring that or shoot that to you in an email and copy some others.
Okay.
Okay, Mike?
Great. I think the next part of my presentation is, all right, so this is the outstanding invoices by type and employer. There's a couple other sheets in here. I wanted to explain why I have other sheets in here besides this one, but this one basically is the traditional report that you typically see. It has the outstanding invoices, not necessarily the past due invoices. And these are the outstanding invoices by type. And then the second half of this report is the top 10 employers by amount, and it compares quarter to quarter. If you look at 3/31/25, it's $2.2 million is outstanding for the C system. And at 12/31, it was closer to 2.3 million, sorry. And then you look at the employers and where they're at, with about almost $1 million of that being Kentucky River Regional Jail and $416,000 with the city of Cummington. So I've been participating in the employer invoice task force, and one of our objectives was maybe to look at a different report on a quarterly basis to provide to the trustees. And I think last quarter I gave kind of a comparison of the number of outstanding invoices, the balances that were past due, and they were in different buckets. And if I recall, I think Ms. Pendergrass at that time kind of liked the bucket idea and what that was showing. And so if you page down a little bit, Sherry, I've got a very similar report to what you've traditionally seen. However, this is the past due invoices as of March 31. So some of these invoices have been paid or collected upon or resolved, but as of March 31, these were what was past due. And those are the buckets that we've put together, right? So 0 to 90 days all the way up to over 5 years. The total number is, again, 1.9 million. So very close to that outstanding number that you saw on the chart above of 2.1 million. And then it tells you the amounts by bucket. And then I've also broken out the type of invoices, and I've tied them to the specific employer. And my current plan is to present this chart to Dewan and his team, and they provide me some comments and feedback of what's going on with some of these invoices. And then I would like to then meet with Mr. Owens at least on a quarterly basis, if not on a monthly basis, to discuss those invoices. And so another part of the employer invoice task force is to, that we're working on an escalation policy about at what point do we bring certain things to the board, at what point does Mr. Owens try to resolve some things with the employer, at what point does it get to legal. So all of that's being formalized. But part of that meeting I'd like to have with Mr. Owens on a periodic basis to discuss that is to, get some feedback from that. And then present a chart like this similar in the upcoming meetings, and maybe provide some commentary on, what's going on with some of these employers. But, the ERC group over the past, 12 to 18 months has made significant strides in resolving a lot of these past due invoices with these related employers. 1.9 million is past due at the end of March, and like I said, 900,000 is with Kentucky River Regional Jail. 381,000 is with the city of Covington. Both of them are kind of going through the legal process to resolve them. And so if you take some of those larger employers out that are in the legal process, there's really not a lot of past due invoices related to the CERS system. Now, that doesn't mean that we still don't need to keep working on them and trying to prevent more from coming into these buckets. And that's the intent of that task force and what we're trying to do there. So that, any feedback you have for me, I would appreciate it. I appreciate you, Mr. O'Mara, for allowing me to present this to the Finance Committee, and I will probably bring this same report up to the C Board as we go forward, but I'm happy to take any feedback on that right now.
Mike, is your intention to still provide the other report along with this additional report?
Well, it kind of depends. So Sheriff, you page up a little bit. This report shows these things. They're just in a different format. So I'm open to the presentation style of what you would like to see. If it needs more detail, if it needs less, if you want me to combine these, or if you want me to show both of them, I think that's still an option to do. But I was trying to show both of these things in my report, just with a little bit more detail.
Well, I'm fine with whatever you want to do as far as the reports personally, but I did want to take time because I did go back and look at some of the past reports. And, since we started focusing on this issue, like I said, a year and a half ago, I went back and looked at May of last year. And at that point in time, we had over $3.6 million in outstanding invoices. So we reduced that number by over 39% in a year's time. So I want to, thank you and your group and your task force for bringing some resources and time and effort to that, because those are dollars that were out there that needed to be brought in and attributable to erasing our funding deficit. So I think you've done a great job and want to continue to focus on it, obviously.
Yeah, and again, a lot of the credit goes to Dewan and his team. They've been really working hard, and the legal team has done a lot also to help resolve that. So I have to give all of the credit to those groups for sure. If there's no further questions on that, there is still the write-off report that we present. And so let me get my little comments to that if you don't mind. So I believe there were 22 penalty invoices that were waived or canceled this past quarter for $20,000. 18 penalty invoices were created for a total of $18,000 for the quarter, and 45 penalty invoices were paid. So again, part of what Dewan's team's doing and working with my team is trying to resolve these penalty invoices and making sure that we're following the policy when it comes to waivers and cancellations, etc. I think that's all I have on the C reports by itself.
Thank you, Mike. Do you want to roll into the administrative budget section?
Yep, happy to do that. So this is the admin budget through March 31, 9 months. I've put the comments in there, so I'm just gonna kind of read them briefly, I guess. But through the third quarter, we spent 26.1 million, which is over 70% of the budget, and we still have 30% left. So overall, we're on track to be under budget for year end. Within that personnel staffing category, one line item is at risk of being over budget, and that's the employer paid health insurance. It has a budget of 2.875 million, and we've spent 2.3 million, or 80% of that as of March. I anticipate that line item being about $225,000 over budget at year end. So we did try to budget for the increased premiums that we were provided for, but it looks like we missed the mark for by a little bit on that particular line item. The salaries line item, the personnel cabinet did significantly adjust salaries for some of our IT related positions during the fourth quarter of 2025. So they're not reflected in this budget here. And they are continuing to elevate or evaluate other IT related positions with more increases to follow starting with fiscal year 26. We did get an additional allocation from the Office of State Budget Director to help offset those increases in salaries for the fourth quarter. And that will allow us to stay under budget for the year in salaries as well as the entire personnel category, despite the increase over budget for the employer health insurance line item. In legal, we spent 53% of the legal admin budget, and they have 47% left to spend in the fourth quarter. That overall category will also remain under budget. There was a little bit of over budget in the KRS specific legal counsel's line item, but that's easily to be absorbed by the other legal counsels that we haven't spent our total budget on. So legal will stay under. Auditing will also stay under. The actuarial and medical and other personnel are all also going to stay under budget, and the operational total is also under budget and will remain under budget for the fiscal year. There are a few line items within the operational total that will be over budget, like some equipment maintenance. The miscellaneous category, our JP Morgan fees are billed to us annually, and it was in May, and we failed to pay that invoice until fiscal year 2025. So that miscellaneous line item is over because of the timing of the payment of that invoice. Any questions? Go ahead.
That legal expense number, where, I mean, it just says legal expense and the budget was 10,000 and apparently we've spent 96,000. What's in there? Do you happen to
Yeah,
know?
so the legal expense is supposed to cover like ancillary charges, and what's happened is there was a legal person that left SKO, and his name's Kellerman, and we didn't set up a specific line item for Kellerman this fiscal year, and so his charges have been going into that. For the remainder of this fiscal year, I've had my accounting team set up a specific line item for him, and so I will adjust this budget for fourth quarter to show the amount that's relatable to him, and then we have a line item for him going forward in fiscal year 26.
Right.
So if you look at the SKO line item, it's way under, and that's because that particular person working our cases has started his own shop.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on the admin budget piece there? I think the next part that I have, Mr. O'Meara, if you want me to continue on, is
Please do.
the hybrid percentage and the CERS allocation. Okay, I will do
Yes.
so. So at the last KPPA meeting, we did get the KPPA board to approve the fiscal year 2026 hybrid percentage. And those amounts are listed there for the CERS system at 64.35 and the KRS system at 35.65%. So that's the percentage of allocation that's going to happen starting July 1. We've always allowed the individual systems, CERS and KRS, to allocate that percentage among their individual pension plans. And traditionally, that's been based on the head count. And so I've put the head count out there for both the C non-hazardous and hazardous, as well as the percentage of that, and then broke down that percentage. And so I'm seeking a motion to formally approve that percentage breakdown for the CERS plans for fiscal year 2026, starting July 1.
Does anyone have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve those hybrid percentages.
I
I'll
have first,
second.
right? Did I have a second?
Steve, yes.
First and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. That passes.
I have one more topic, Mr. O'Meara, if you allow me to.
Just keep right on rolling.
All right, perfect. This is the preliminary draft admin budget. So as you know, this year we didn't have a budget task force that I was able to bounce ideas off of or provide feedback to. And so being that the KPPA will approve the admin budget in their end of June meeting, I wanted to preview the budget for the C system and the K system over the next few weeks. and let me give you a little bit of background. So that fiscal year 2026 draft admin budget, the bottom number of 49,969,700, that is the already permission to spend amount from the K budget biennium budget. So for fiscal year 26, that's the amount that we've been allocated in the state's budget to spend. And so what we try to do at KPPA and with the task force in the past is to allocate that $49 million among all the various categories, with the largest one being personnel, and with legal being quite large, and then information technology also being quite large. So I have a few things to tie up related to personnel, but in general, that number might go up $1 million or so. The legal one, I'm talked to Michael on the admin side. I think that's pretty sound. IT, traditionally IT has had about a $4 million budget. They've sometimes come in really, really low compared to that, but we made them in the past couple years really specify their expenses and what they want to spend and what they're going to spend, and they've done pretty good this year. So far they're going to come in about 3.9 million is my projected. They have a 4.2 million budget. And so I did have a meeting with them last week. I think their budget's going to be around 4.1, 4.2 again. There's a few items I need to add into that. So with all of those numbers, what we do with the amount that hasn't been allocated to one of those lines, we put it down here as unallocated amount. I hope that will go down a little bit once I adjust the salaries and adjust the IT budget, but I think we'll be pretty, close to maybe $1 million of unallocated. And so we call that the unallocated reserve. And we typically don't need to spend that unless we come across something that's anticipated, and we will come back to the KPPA board to ask permission to do that. So those are the numbers. I wanted to give that to you to review, and have any, you field any questions that you have at this point.
Well, let me just make a comment, Mike, that we are under a 2-year budget. And so the dollars have already been set. In prior years, we had a work group looking at those dollars and how they should be distributed, and kind of did that for a 2-year span last year. So the necessity to have that work group this year was diminished. So I just want to put that background there.
Yeah, and I want to talk internally a little bit, but next year is the K budget, and that's due in October. So that's the next biennium budget for the state, and it may be beneficial to maybe put that task force together as we build that K budget and seek approval for that. But that's just an idea for discussion to have. I think it might be helpful in preparing the next biennium budget for KPPA.
Mike, I hate to back up to the previous report, just a quick question. Mars usage, we budgeted, looks like 50,000, and at this point, I don't know whether they bill that quarterly or how that transpires, but it looks like we're going to be well over that.
Yeah, so the EMARS usage is our charge from the state for the number of users that use EMARS. So our procurement team uses EMARS, my accounting team uses EMARS, and I believe that usage number that they started billing us this year was higher than we anticipated. So I don't know exactly why, or if we didn't get that communicated to us at the beginning of this fiscal year, but that is correct. We are going to be over budget for that EMARS line item for this fiscal year.
I've heard similar comments from other places with regard to that. So I think the state did up that rate considerably.
Yep.
Mike, could I ask, did you say they allocate that based on users, not transactions or any other metric?
Yeah, my understanding that it's on users, and the transactions that we run through EMARS are pretty minimal compared to other state agencies, but I think it is a user-based fee.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Lamb? Mike, as always, we appreciate your information and how you presented it. It's been very helpful.
Thank
And
you for having me. Appreciate it.
thanks for attending from afar. Thank you. Next is hazardous duty request. And Mr. Surratt, would you want to take us through those?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon. Today we have 15 positions being requested for hazardous duty coverage. All the positions are police, fire, EMT, or paramedic positions. KPPA has reviewed all the position questionnaires and job descriptions submitted, and these positions do meet the statutory guidelines for hazardous duty coverage. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I would like to request the CERS Finance Committee to approve these positions to go forth in front of the CERS Board of Trustees for final approval.
All right. He's asked, does anyone have any questions? All right. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second, Steve.
Thank you. Motion first and second. Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Dwan, you have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Willer, would you want to walk us through the investment trust budget?
Sure. Sherry, one page forward, please. Thank you. Good afternoon. Very brief update on the investment budget as of the end of March 31st, 2025. Through the first 9 months of fiscal 2025, realized expenses were in line with the budget, with a total of $8.9 million, or 71% of the budget spent year to date. In the contractual services category, I would note that the outliers are the Mercer Insight and the new consultant line items. The Mercer Insight is a timing issue, with only 2 quarters of fees being reflected as paid so far this fiscal year, which should be resolved by the end of the current quarter. And while we had originally intended to do an RFP for a new private markets consultant during fiscal 2025, that project has been delayed, and we expect to complete that and onboard during fiscal 2026. In the legal and auditing services category, as we've seen in the past, that is a notoriously difficult to budget for, as the realized expenses are based on litigation activity, which is often outside of KPPA's control. And while there's been significant variance at the line item level, as you'll note, based on specific litigation activity, the overall expenses incurred are in line with the total budgeted so far for the fiscal year. So that's a really good job by Michael and his team in forecasting and budgeting legal expenses, which, as we note, are very difficult. And while we expect litigation activity and related expenses to remain elevated into fiscal 2026, given the conclusion in some cases and resolution, we are budgeting a reduction in overall legal expenses of about $2 million for fiscal year 2026. Page 31, please, Sherry. At the total, so these are asset class at the total pension level, and at that total pension level, investment fees and expenses have been $23.5 million, or 23% higher than for the same period last year, as total assets have risen 8% over the same time period. The notable increases include $3 million in admin expenses, the $5.5 million in real return, which were driven by the increase in the allocation, as well as the increase in performance fees. $7.5 million increase in real estate, which was largely due to the reversal of the negative performance fee that had been accrued, as well as an increase in expenses. $3.8 million increase in overall specialty credit fees and expenses, and that's based largely on the increase in assets, as well as an increase in performance fees. The public equity asset class may stand out a little bit and look off, with a larger reported fee and a smaller reported asset size as of 3/31. But that really is just a timing issue. As we note, these are as a point in time measures. And for the 9-month period ending 3/31, the average monthly market value for 2024 was $7.98 billion, while the 9-month average for 2025 was 8.67, so considerably larger although that's not reflected as that point in time measure as 24 and 25. Pause there with any questions. If not, Sherry, you can go to page 33, please. So these next two pages break out the fees from the prior two pages, which were at the total pension and total insurance level, and these are specific for the CRS portfolios. And while the overall fee rate are consistent with both the overall pension and insurance, I would note that the CRS fee rates are modestly higher for certain asset classes, and that's really just based on individual asset and manager allocations. And the two notable ones are the private equity, which CERS manager fee rate is 44 basis points compared to an overall pension of 38 basis points. And the real estate, where the CERS manager fee rate is 81 basis points compared to the overall pension of 77 basis points. And again, that's really just due to a difference in allocation as well as the composition of the managers of the underlying portfolio. Happy to take any questions.
Well, just to comment, I look forward to the 26 budget with a decrease in some categories. That was good to hear.
And happy that I'm sure Michael's very happy about that as well. So any legal decrease in legal expenses is welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Willard? All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Are there any other items that the committee would like to bring forward, this being a regular meeting? All right, hearing none, we'll try to be efficient and thank everyone for your time and all of the staff for the information that they brought forward to us and presented. And I'll close this meeting at this time. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.